sipping and roasting. Yeah, that's what we do. Set 'em up, knock 'em down, make that cherry glow. Whiskey and cigars, the gentleman's cologne.
Cheers, y'all.
That's what it sounds like when a party's about to happen,
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this fine radio program, podcast, and video extravaganza known internationally as the world-famous Smokin' and Toastin'. We're all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. This is show number 374.
That is pretty amazing.
If you can believe that. 374. Officially puts us what?
Well, if you double that number, the exact double of that number would be 400.
Okay, so puts us halfway then to 400?
Puts us halfway, yeah.
Nice to have it. I have a major announcement at the top of the show. This is going to strike some people as a surprise, and I understand that. But today's show will be the final show in which I will be enjoying craft beer and spirits. After today's show, I will no longer be a person who drinks.
Oh, really?
No, we're recording on April Fool's Day. I wanted to see if you would buy it. And I could tell you weren't buying it, but there was just this little flicker of
worry.
This is how he's telling me? Yeah, you can be on your own in the show from now on. I'll go, well, that looks delicious. You know.
Well, yeah, I'm okay with that. I mean, I could double up.
Okay.
I can drink your share.
Okay, I got you. No, this is one of those things. It's like a campaign promise. They make it and you go, well, that's never going to happen.
I mean, the truth is, as of this week, I now have a manager that you'll have to speak to about such a thing.
Oh, really? Okay. That's good to know. That's good to know. Well, and we'll build a wall, and Mexico will pay for it. So there you go. We want to thank our special guest from last week, Josh Kane from Casa de Montecristo, who was kind enough to come on and talk cigars with us, and he really knew what he was talking about. It was a great show. Go back and check it out if you haven't. And
nice
if
guy.
the cameras,
had excellent recommendations.
And
too.
if the camera's on him, watch his face when I open the show with the well, because you can always tell people that are like kind of new to what we're doing, and they're sitting there with this look on their face like, what in the hell have I gotten myself into? This is ridiculous. Got a little spider action going on in the studio there. And he is now headed towards me. Little spiders love to bite me, so watch out for that. We have got some pretty cool stuff to talk about on today's program. Our beer flights now passe. We'll get to that in a bit, but I've always liked beer flights. Like when you go to the restaurant or the brewery and
I can't afford them. I've only flown economy.
That's bad. That's bad. Even for April Fool's Day, that's bad. And by the time people hear this...
This is setting up the tone of the show, by the way.
We're in real trouble.
I need a drum set here for the rim shot.
So we'll talk about that on the program. We're also going to be tasting some, I think, very interesting things from Mount Pleasant, South Carolina, and the Westbrook Brewing Company. We'll be trying their... And it's summer almost. It's not quite summer, but I'm wearing like a nice, colorful shirt, and we're gonna test a Gose. And
I got like light shorts on. I got flip flops.
Yeah, we're trying to usher summer in as early as we can. It is a Gose called Cherry Pie. It's a Cherry Pie Gose. And I love cherry pie and I love Gose. So we'll see how
also best song ever by Warren.
I know. I'm glad you brought that up. And I was going to, but yeah.
That bar is not set real high. Just so you know, I would have a tendency to agree with you. So much better than When the Children Cry. And now I've just I've lost some hypness points with people in the audience.
Oh, yeah.
Because I knew a Warrant song title besides Cherry Pie.
Yeah. No, I hate to do this to you, but When the Children Cry, that was White Lion.
Oh, see, I got it wrong. Yay!
Who also, by the way, White Lion also did the music for the Transformers animated movie.
Okay. Well,
So I'm still the worst one for going to see Warrant, Trickster, and Firehouse at the Woodlands in 1990.
Oh, dude. Well, in your defense, it was 1990.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Yeah. So in your defense, it was 1990. I remember seeing Kiss, Winger, and Slaughter back in the 80s.
Oh,
I was
boy.
working at a radio station, and we took. I don't know if I've told the story on the show before, but we took some winners backstage to meet Kiss, and so we all got to meet the Kiss guys without their makeup on, which was kind of interesting.
Nice.
Right? And then, so I'm bringing the winners back, and Slaughter went on stage first, and then Winger, and Kiss, of course, was the headliner. And so while Slaughter is on stage, I'm kind of winding through with a little guide from the venue with the winners, and we pass the area backstage where Winger is doing a photo shoot. And the guys, they've got this draped background, and they've got all these lights set up. And I look around, and I notice that there's a person, an intern, a young girl, young woman, whose sole job it is during the photo shoot is to hold the fan that was blowing Kip Winger's hair.
Oh,
That's perfect.
Nice. I
was
love
like,
that.
This is rock and roll
Mom,
right
look
here.
how
That's
far
what
I've
that
come.
is.
Wow,
That
two
is
bands
rock and roll.
with two bands with people names too. Kip Winger and Mark Slaughter.
Yeah.
I went and saw Slaughter about 6 years ago, actually.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yes. With,
They still
Did
got
you
it?
fly to the Angels?
actually, dude,
How
he
tired are they
freaking
of
rocks.
that song? Yeah.
The dude can play guitar,
Yeah.
too.
From Firestone Walker Brewing Company in Pasa, Robles, California, we'll be trying their Mind Haze Cosmic Crusher. It is an Imperial IPA. So that should be interesting. We love those guys at Firestone Walker. And from Portland, Oregon, we'll be trying the this is very interesting because usually the brewery that makes the beer is either called the something something brewery or the something something brewing company, or so this brewery is called the Crux, Crux, Fermentation Project.
Nice.
And we'll be trying their barrel-aged Imperial Stout called Tough Love.
Alan Parsons
to
loves
be-
that.
Way to be different, yes.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
By the way, Ian brought the...
Yeah, today's going to be a little IPA heavy.
Yeah. No, there's just one. There's an IPA.
Well, no, I brought two IPAs.
Oh, that's right. You because you were talking about doing a little side-by-side action.
Well, you know, I don't know if you remember, but we tried the Yellow Rose. Now, Yellow Rose is from Lone Pine Brewery, and
One of our favorites of all
one
time.
of our absolute favorite IPAs that exists.
Mm-hmm.
Up there with any of the greats that you know of, and if you're ever in this area, pick some up if you're an IPA fan. Well, we tried their double IPA, and we're huge fans of it. Love it.
Yes.
And then not too long after, one of the other IPAs that we're both enormous fans of,
You're talking Ghost and
Ghost and Machine by
from
Parish
Yes.
Brewing, which is unbelievable, also had a double IPA that we were total fans of. And I
Right.
thought, you know, we should try those two back to back.
Yeah, so side by side, doing A and B. Yeah,
I have
oh.
those right here. And not to say
I'm
which
excited
one's
about that.
better, quote unquote.
Right, but just to
kind
get a
of
feel for
celebrate
how they,
the differences
Love
and
it.
stuff like that.
Love it. So we'll do that. And not only did Ian bring that, today's a big day for like Ian contributing stuff to the show because he also brought today's whiskey, which
I
is
did.
from
I brought them. I mean, what?
New Riff Distilling Single Barrel Kentucky Straight Malort is what Ian has brought for us today. I noticed, by the
Straight
way,
bourbon whiskey.
He left a little in the bottle.
well, I noticed you not only cleared the neck, but you cleared a good portion of the bottle.
This
on
is an
one as well.
extremely tall bottle, so you know
Yeah.
you clear the neck so you don't get much spillage. But since this bottle's so tall,
I'm glad
it's a
you're
little easier to spill. So I had to clear it down to about the halfway point.
glad you're looking out for us. Thank you so much.
Maybe a little below that, actually.
And that isn't all Ian brought. He brought. We have a sound effect for what Ian brought for today. This is Ian calls it the bomb, for short.
Oh, okay, yes.
But it is time for us to sample
The beverage of mystery.
So Ian brought this one in. So he is the only one who knows what today's beverage of mystery is. He'll reveal its true identity once we sample. But first, we're going to try it and tell you what we think.
That has something on the nose. Boy, there's
What is
a
that
lot
on the
going
nose?
on. I
Yeah.
can't tell. It's like tequila and toothpaste mixed
I was going
together.
to say, when I first saw it and I saw the bubbles, I was like, oh, this is like a sparkling water, like a hard seltzer, right? But it smells more like, you're right, tequila.
And toothpaste and then peanuts. Peanuts.
Which you're going to love this drink. It's made with tequila, toothpaste, and peanuts. Oh, my God.
I mean, stuff you already have at the house, right?
Exactly.
My wife is awfully good at going into the refrigerator, finding finding leftovers and being able to like throw them into some amazing thing. So this could be one of those, but I don't know. I'm not big on the toothpaste, and Terry's right. It is all toothpaste on the nose.
Toothpaste on the top there. This has to be some sort of mint something. Let's taste it.
Whoa.
It's special.
That's one way to describe it.
Well, I still taste the peanuts and the...
It's like, you know what it's like? It's like a mint julep with a toothpaste finish.
You really taste the toothpaste
You
on the
really
back
do.
end. On
It's
the
like-
back end, you really...
And I'm going to go so far as to say Colgate.
I've been meaning to talk about your breath, guys.
A retro halo.
Because I didn't bring in a beverage of mystery. I just brought in mouthwash.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, if that's what you were going for, peppermint schnapps would have been a lot better. Or maybe some Rumpelmints, you know, something like that.
Exactly.
So what you're having right here
It's not very enjoyable.
It is
Whistle
crazy.
Pig Piggyback Barrel-Aged Rye Smash.
Wow.
Is it supposed to be rye and...
Small batch farm to can session citrus mint.
That should be
Mint.
so much better than it is. Don't you think?
You know, to be honest with you, I kind of like everything about this except for the fact that they made it session citrus mint.
Yeah, because that
You mean
citrus
if they took
mint,
away the mint?
well, that citrus mint is what's given us that toothpaste finish.
Yeah, it
I don't
definitely
mind. I don't mind it up front.
But then on the back,
the
I
finish,
thought it wasn't going to have the toothpaste taste, and then I waited a second, and I was like, oh, it does taste
Agree.
like toothpaste.
When you first drink
Yeah.
it, you're not getting the toothpaste.
Would you like an orange candy now? Or a sip of orange juice?
Oh my God!
So citrus session, it's easy for me to say, session citrus mint. This is literally my first drink, by the way. Coming in at 8.0 by
Oh, wow.
volume.
Okay, so
So pretty
I
big.
didn't think it was that big.
handcrafted for bold and balanced flavor.
all right. So first of all, we know they're using a good whiskey, right?
Yeah.
Because Whistle Pig's great. Piggyback is their less expensive iteration, but it's still delicious. So we know it's not the fault of the whiskey. Why are canned cocktails so bad? No, I'm being very serious. Like, why can't they make these better?
Yeah.
Why
the
do they
question
all
is,
have to have this
who
aftertaste?
mixes these? Who decides this is the flavor that they want?
All right, so we need to do a whole canned cocktails episode.
Yeah.
And we need to have Roberto back on because
Yeah.
he makes pre-made cocktails, right?
And
But
they're
his do not suck. And so I want to find out. I want to get to the bottom of this. Why are all of these so? They sound so good. Like looking at that can. If you'd showed me that.
Whistle Pig,
Yeah, you
piggyback,
showed you the can.
rye
If you
smash.
showed me
Come
that
on.
before we tried it, I'd have been like, "This is actually got a chance to be good," but it's not.
That's actually the reason I bought it. My wife bought this because like she loves Whistle Pig. You cannot put a bottle of Whistle Pig in my house. Its evaporative properties are
or amplified. Yeah.
amplified. Yes. Anyway, she bought this because it looked really interesting. And, after a couple of them, she's like, nah, I don't think I could do it anymore. And I was like, really? I took a sip and when I see why. And then I thought I'd bring it in to torture you
Well,
guys with.
it really is a good beverage of mystery because, it's one of those things that I think my impression of it might have been altered had I known what it was.
On paper, it looks like it'd be something
it
decent.
does.
you know?
Speaking of on paper, I didn't mention this yet, but we will get to drinking news on today's show, and maybe Ian, you can give me a little drinking news teaser headline music as we round out this segment here. Our drinking news teaser headline for our story later in the show today: the party isn't lit till the piñata gets hit.
I didn't know
to
there was
that.
a pinata.
We're going to talk a lot about piñatas today. We'll also tell you about some cigars to watch for, and our big topic today are beer flights passe. Plus, baseball season is here. The Astros here in our hometown of Houston started with a homestand where they lost the first 4 games of the season. Way to go, guys.
Perfect.
Yeah. Anyway, baseball season's here. Which Major League Baseball parks have the best craft beer? We will tell you on today's show as you get into the mood for the boys of summer to return. We are the boys of toothpaste aftertaste.
And Squish Spider.
Thank you for doing that. We will also be right back. We are Smoking and Toasting, all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We'll talk about cigars next. Welcome back. It is Smoking and Toasting. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. I'd like to thank Terry for bringing in the show beers today. We regularly, we'll start sipping on something at the beginning of the show because sometimes it takes a little while before we get into the beers and spirits, and
A man gets thirsty.
we're thirsty, yeah. And often Ian will bring them in, but today Terry brought them in, and he brought like some IPAs from Voodoo Ranger, not the pizza IPA, unfortunately, but the other
I'm
one.
still working on that one.
And then I brought an IPA in our beers that we're going to be sampling, and then Ian brought two that we're going to sample side by side. So it's a big IPA day today.
IPA day.
But before we get to that, Ian, I assume you had a chance to smoke something interesting this week.
So I went by Casa again because it's right on the way here. You know how it is. Because a lot of Casa going on recently because we're going to be in Casa de Monte Cristo at a different location. Next
Right,
week.
at their northern location.
Northern location here in Houston, just for fun. So I picked up one of their house cigars. They call them Croft cigars.
Oh, yeah?
Because before it was Casa de Monte Cristo.
Wait. Are they named after Sid and Marty Croft, the creators of HR Puffin Stuff?
HR Puffin Stuff.
Anytime I can get an HR Puffin Stuff reference in the show, I'm pleased.
Well, there was
I'm
only,
done here. Thank you.
Here's the crazy
Good night.
thing. There was only like one season of that, right?
Yeah.
And it's still
it was
memorable.
like the greatest thing
right?
ever.
How crazy.
It's like an acid trip.
So
puppet
anyway,
show.
before it was Casa de Monte Cristo, it was known as Serious Cigars,
yeah.
and Croft was, I think, their house brand name for
Gotcha,
their their pipe tobacco and their house cigars, which they had made. And some of the old guys up there that I was sitting with, we were talking about how that's what they smoke all the time. I said, okay, you know what? I'm going to try one of those. So I went and picked one up. They had two choices. They had a Toro and a Robusto. I picked up the Robusto, so 5.5 by 52-ish. There's not a lot of description on these, by the way. There's no label.
Right.
It's like as cigar looking as it gets. It's a Maduro looking wrapper. It has a binder and a filler.
Which the mystery binder and the filler of mystery.
Yes.
The filler of mystery.
Like I have no idea what's in it.
Yeah.
And then I thought to myself, I could educate myself. I could go speak with someone who works here, but I didn't. I actually, I did. No one needs to know all that. The appearance, it's brown,
Yeah.
it's veiny, it's oily, it's leathery, it's firm, and it has no label. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
It looks like a cigar. If you were sitting down drawing a picture of a cigar, this is what it would look like. You can see it in the picture right here.
It's pretty inexpensive, right?
And it has solid construction. On the pre-light sniff, I got earth and coffee with a hint of pink eraser.
Not where I thought you were going. Toothpaste and pink eraser. We are really in a place where we're.
That's a definite specific note, though. You know
Certainly
what I mean?
is.
When
Oh yeah, totally.
You know what I'm talking about.
Everybody knows what that is.
Yeah, you know exactly what pink eraser smells like, right? I used a V-cut on this. Had a pretty easy draw. I got earth, fermented hay, tea leaf on the pre-light draw. The initial light, I got kind of a sweet coffee, some campfire, barnyard, fermented hay. The retrohale was campfire and kind of nutty. The first third of the cigar, cedar and campfire lead the charge, followed by coffee, leather, earth, and hints of citrus. Weighing in on the milder side of medium, retrohale is campfire and nutty. Solid ash, good burn. The second third of this, you followed the same exact line. Nothing different, nothing changed. The smoke, I noted, though, had kind of an unsatisfactory thin quality. You ever have one of those?
Totally.
Where you're
Totally.
smoking a cigar, you got a big fat
You
cigar,
don't get
you
big
take a big old
billows.
puff,
Yeah.
and you even visually see the smoke, but it's like it's not there. It's
Yeah.
like, you know.
Totally.
The retrohale was campfire and nutty, solid ash, good burn. The last third of this, I got a slight paper fire note that started sneaking in.
That's not good.
Kind of leaving a bitter aftertaste. Retrohales, campfire, and cedar, solid ash, good burn. I didn't smoke the whole last third of this cigar. I kind of just put it down. Price to quality. This is $6.80. That's a bargain cigar.
Yeah.
It gets a 3 even at $6.80.
Even wow. Okay.
When you can buy a factory smoke at $2 or less.
Right.
When you can buy a pulpetta at the same price, when Punch can make a cigar like the spring roll for $6,
Totally.
this cigar doesn't even stand a chance.
Agree totally based on how you described it.
Yeah.
There's too many really decent cigars at that. They're not going to maybe stand up against a Padron Anniversario, but they're decent at those prices.
Yeah, and for $7, there's just better cigars.
Mine was a little more expensive. I'll tell you about that coming up next. It's Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. I'd just like to point out, by the way, that the mystery beverage that Ian poured in the first segment
was horrible.
was not Malort.
It was not Malort, but it was toothpastey on the finish. And I think the only one of us that has actually finished their cup of that is Terry.
I did finish it. I did finish it. You
I'm
know
just
what?
noticing your empty cup over there.
I have to say, it did hide the 8.5% pretty well in there. I thought that was well.
So now we know what Terry's all about.
Yeah.
He's like you.
You remember those commercials, the Mikey likes it, he'll eat anything? We have Terry.
I don't know if I could have finished a whole can of it, though.
I appreciate that. Well, for this week's tasting notes, let me tell you about the cigar that I smoked this week. I went back. Oh, that was just wonderful. As opening can sound effects go, that was definitely top 10.
I try to be authentic.
Cherry pie.
For this week's tasting notes, I went back to a cigar I reviewed in 2021. Remember 2021?
I'm trying not to.
Those were simpler times. Anyways, on a
Wait,
show...
no, 2021 was a freaking dumpster fire, man.
But it was simpler times, if you think about it. Yeah, and not for good reasons. Anyway, on a show that year, I shared my tasting notes on the Rocky Patel 60, and I raved about it. I gave it a price-to-quality rating of 7 on a $17 cigar. Now, price
It's
to
a
quality,
beautiful cigar,
yeah,
too.
price to quality is a scale of 1 to 10, but 5 means that you got what you pay for, right? So it's not uncommon for us to give a cigar that's less expensive a rating over 5.
Yeah.
But usually when a cigar is more expensive, when it's in the $15 plus price range, it's hard for a cigar
to start
to
going above
start
5.
going above 5 in this ratings thing that we do. And of course, it's all subjective, but this is just us sharing what we thought, right? And so for me to have given a $17 cigar a 7, that's pretty remarkable.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know what? Since I gave that cigar a 7, I hadn't smoked one since. Like, what's wrong with me, right? So, given how much I liked it, it's crazy. So I thought, let's try it again. I'll spring for the $17, and let's see how the quality has
that was
held
2021. Now it's like $27.
Yeah, well, actually, no. Believe it or not, it was 16 something, and it was 17 something now. So it's gone up
okay.
a little. So, but anyway, I kind of averaged. But I thought, let's see how the quality has held up since 3 years ago, because this happens a lot in cigar world, right? Somebody will put out a cigar, it'll get rave reviews, and then they move on and put out the next cigar, like Rocky has done, right? And the quality on that, right, and the quality on that other one will wane a little bit over time as they, cut some corners and do. Not accusing Rocky of anything, but I thought, let's see how it's held up, over time since 3 years ago. So to start off with, I honestly believe that the Rocky Patel 60 may be the most beautifully packaged cigar in the industry.
It's pretty gorgeous.
The bands, which you'll see here, which cover almost the whole stick, they're huge, but they still manage to be somehow kind of understated, it's just gorgeous. So once I took all that packaging off, or at least some of it, and I got a chance to experience the pre-light notes, and holy cow, chocolate cake! The 60 gives off the richest dark chocolate notes I think I've ever experienced on a pre-light sniff or a cold draw. I'm sure there were some other notes in there as well, but who cares? Chocolate cake! I used a punch and I lit her up, and I got a formidable but not overpowering Nicaraguan pepper blast.
Nice.
I forgot to mention that Rocky used a Maduro San Andres wrapper and binder and fillers from Nicaragua that apparently includes some tobacco that he's been saving since he first started growing in Esteli. Or at least that's what was announced at the time the cigar was released, which is several years ago. Excuse me. So he also uses some other rare leaves that he sourced for this particular blend. And then after it's rolled, the 60 is aged for a minimum of 2 years before it's even shipped to stores.
That's a commitment in
That
time
is a
for
big commitment,
a
yeah.
cigar.
Once the NPB, the Nicaraguan pepper blast, settled down, chocolate and earthy undertones provided the flavor foundation for the 60. And little by little, as it smoked, I was able to experience leather, nuts, and a distinct creaminess that complemented the dark chocolate just beautifully. By the second third, I was already beating myself up about the fact that I hadn't smoked one of these in 3 years. I mean, it's pricey, but it's not like the Conviction cigar that Rocky released, which is $100. I mean, I can scrape together a few nickels every now and then and treat myself to the 60. Cedar and white paper showed up. I'm sorry, white pepper, not white paper. That would be a bad
white
thing.
paper was what I had.
Yeah,
in
that's
my
right. Cedar and white pepper showed up in the second third, and an oakiness along with baking spice in the final third. But the dark chocolate and the earth remained consistent, as did some level of pepper throughout the whole thing, and a whole lot of other flavors that would kind of come and go as I smoked the cigar. So construction was good. I touched the burn line up once with my lighter, but it would have been fine without it. Draw was perfect, and the ash held on for about an inch or so at a time. I went back and looked at my notes from when I reviewed this cigar back in 2021, and I was struck by something that I said then. I said 3 years ago, this is a $16 to $17 cigar, and I'm giving it a 7. To those companies out there who have $20 cigars, if they're not as good as this one, you're overpriced. You're probably overpriced anyway. That's what I said back then. And yeah, Davidoff, I was looking at you. Anyway, the Rocky Patel 60 Toro was a wonderful smoking experience. I smoked it down to the nub, and I enjoyed every minute of it. And while I should repeat myself by smoking the 60 more often, I do apologize for repeating myself now when I say price to quality 7.
We're gonna have to have an RP60 report every few months.
I
then.
think maybe we should. I mean, it was just it was so good.
Just
I was
that
like,
good?
Why have I not had one of these in 3 years? You know, it's not like if it was like a $40 cigar or something, I would understand. Like, you don't treat yourself to that as often as one might think.
Right.
But, you know, it's $17. I can swing that every once in a great while.
I mean, when you go out to drink, they're making drinks that you go out that are $15 now for just one drink. So,
absolutely. And if you live in New York, it's $15 for a beer.
Yeah.
Yeah. and not even a good beer like a Miller Lite.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Is $15.
Yeah.
So, so it is what it is. All right. Speaking of good beer, and I'm hoping this is good,
Sounds
and I
good.
love the way it looks. This is the Cherry Pie Gose from Westbrook. It is a Gose style ale with natural flavors.
It's got a pink plaid. This looks very much like your grandmother's
like
kitchen
a gingham
table.
chicken kitchen
That's
table.
in the corner of the kitchen, you know, the little not the actual dining room table, but it's the Formica top of
I
it.
love this one on the nose.
It is. It's got a good nose.
Yeah. I like this already on the nose.
Oh,
Have you started your
I
research?
haven't researched this yet.
Okay,
I was too busy enjoying
I did, and it's wonderful.
your 7-point review on that.
They said on the can,
Oh my goodness.
everyone loves cherry pie, which is the second best cherry pie line after the first one being, of course, she's mine, cherry pie. But everyone loves cherry pie. It's true. I am a huge cherry pie
Have you
fan.
tried this yet?
I love the tartness of cherry pie.
Yeah,
I love
it has
everything
it.
about it. I have not tried this yet.
It has that.
This is out freaking
Holy
outrageous.
moly.
Where'd you get this? I need to go get some on the way
Do
home.
yourself-
This
do
is
yourself-
unbelievable.
I know this sounds crazy, but do yourself a favor on your next sip. Get some air with it. You know,
Yeah.
do the. Wow.
It's so good.
This flavor is what I love about cherry pie.
The retro hail on this is like graham cracker crust.
Yes, that's what it is.
and
yes.
that's what completes the whole cherry
It's
pie thing,
so
right?
good.
Yes.
Wow. Now, if you do not like actual cherry pie, you probably won't like this beer.
Yeah.
But
This-
if you do,
Yeah.
it's
Because
fantastic.
this doesn't taste like the bitter cherries. This tastes like the best of the
Like a cherry Jolly
filling.
Rancher.
You know, the best of the filling that holds all the
Right.
cherries together in there.
Right.
It's not too sweet either. It's a little bit sweet. It's a little bit tart.
What I love about cherry pie is that the tart and the sweet kind of balance each other out in a good cherry pie. And my wife has asked me all the time, if I make a pie, what do you want? I'm like, there are only two choices, chocolate and cherry. and it's not that I don't love a good peach
I'm
cobbler
going to go ahead
or whatever.
and toss in rhubarb.
See, I'm not a rhubarb man. And by the way, you should never grab another man's
Mincemeat.
rhubarb. That's just a that's just a you know.
It's just a thing.
Exactly.
Society dictates.
But no, rhubarb to me, I just don't dig that flavor. That's just me though.
Yeah.
I know they're big fans of rhubarb.
Rhubarb
pie.
is not that different from cherry pie because
See, I
it's
think
got
it's
that kind
way
of tartness that
different.
cherry has. It's just a little bit different flavor, but
Yeah.
I do love it. I would if this company makes this,
Yeah.
holy cow.
Is this something you can just get everywhere, or is this something you have to get?
I don't know how available this is to us here in Houston.
Well,
I
let's
got this.
look. Yeah.
I got this
Brewing
online.
company
Okay.
is
But they are from
where?
South Carolina, I believe.
South Carolina.
Wow.
Let me take
Good
a
for
look
them.
back at my notes. Yeah, Mount Pleasant,
Mount Pleasant,
South Carolina.
Oh my goodness, this is good.
So, but the thing is, Terry, if you just go online
There's
and
a-
Google it,
Google it?
if it's available anywhere here, it'll show up.
Okay.
There's an
yeah.
almost pastry kind of aftertaste if you just stop taking a sip and
Sure.
let it linger a little
Oh,
bit.
absolutely. It gives you that whole, like, I've just had a wonderful dessert feeling on
Yeah.
your senses. I'm so all about this. Now, I will say, this is not something I want to drink really fast. And sometimes Goses are very, like,
No,
thirst quenching and stuff.
and this
is
comes
more
in the,
something I want to sip and savor, you know?
Yeah.
The 16
now I have to pay some guy in
Yeah,
California.
it comes in a
with
16-ounce can. So this is like a perfect if you just had steaks with a buddy or something and you pour one of these between two glasses. Perfect for sharing, but it is beautiful. It is.
It really
fantastic.
is. I don't know if I've ever tasted a beer
A Gose at
that said it's cherry pie or any other kind of pie that resembled it that
closely.
It's pretty
Yeah.
amazing.
wow. So this is Westbrook Brewing Company, and it really makes me want to try some of their other beers. So I'm going to look for, what do these guys do with a Pilsner? What do they do with a Stout? What do they do with an IPA? That'll be interesting to find out. Very
It's just
interesting
pretty darn amazing.
to
There's a
find
little
out.
bit left in
Speaking of IPAs, coming up in another segment here in a moment, we're going to do a side-by-side. Ian brought in two IPAs that we have raved about on this show. One is from Lone Pint, who make Yellow Rose, which is probably one of my all-time top 3 IPAs. This is their double that they released
Double
about a
Yellow
year
Rose.
ago. And then Parish Brewing, which makes Ghost in the Machine, which may be my all-time favorite hazy. This is their
This is
double
their
IPA.
brain cake. Yeah.
Brain Cake Double IPA. So we're going to do side by. We've had both these beers on the show before, and coming up in our next segment, we will side by side these babies and tell you what we think. So that's something we are looking forward to. Also, drinking news is on the way, and we promised to talk about our beer flights now passe. So with only a minute or so left in this segment, Ian, so let's just start this conversation about beer flights. I love when I go to a brewery that has the opportunity for you to sample a flight of beers. So you get, 4 or 5 of their beers, small samples. I love doing that, and it lets me really compare and contrast the different styles that they have and the flavors, and then I decide what I'm ordering for my next full beer based on that.
I agree. I like to try the gambit of what someone has. I do find that this statement could be true if you go to one of the breweries that just has 7 IPAs on tap. And,
but let's think about this
and
though.
one
because I enjoy IPA.
light beer.
So if a brewery
style
has
or lager.
7 IPAs on tap, I wouldn't mind a flight comparing those. Just like I'm sure you wouldn't mind a flight comparing 4 different barley wines.
and maybe a malt liquor. No, I'm just joking about the malt liquor.
But you know what I'm saying? If you're into that style, it'd be fun.
That's true.
Think of something like Voodoo Ranger, for example. They put out these, IPA mix packs.
Yes.
It'd be kind of fun to try little bits of those, in succession in a beer flight, and then go, okay, my favorite was that one. That's what I'm ordering. Same thing could go for
Unless you don't really
for
like
porters.
that many IPAs.
What's that?
Unless you don't want to try that many IPAs.
Right, but I'm saying if you went somewhere and they had a porter flight selection,
Oh yeah, I'm in.
so that's my point. That's I don't think
I went
beer flights
to
are
Whiskey
passe.
Cake. Have you ever been to Whiskey Cake?
I have not, but I love the name.
I went there the other day and I put together a cask strength, barrel strength flight for myself.
Right.
It was not a cheap flight, but boy, was it delicious.
See, I feel like the answer is right there. The answer is that Are they passe? Well, if it's something you like, then no, they're good.
Well, according to an
Don't
article
you bring
on
logic and sense into this.
according to an article on Punch Drink, which we'll get into more in the next segment, but punchdrink.com, they say, a trend is already 6 feet under when kids start roasting their parents for it on TikTok. So by this metric, they say the beer flight's estimated time of death was somewhere around the beginning of 2023.
Oh, I didn't realize that kids were roasting. I didn't realize that kids knew what that was or cared.
So they say, but it's not just Gen Z raising an eyebrow at the once ubiquitous wooden paddle or skateboard or guitar or metal basket that holds 4-ounce tasting pours. The beer flight debate flares up within the craft beer community every few years. And I wasn't aware that this was a thing, like that anybody was questioning beer flights.
If you walk up to a brewery and you say, hey, you're interested in a beer, they'll actually just give you a sip.
Yeah, I was going to say, who is this that doesn't want to sample beers? You know what? Also, I don't like to go to Baskin Robbins and take little samples of ice cream either.
Yeah. By the way, there's something wonderful about getting that tiny plastic spoon with a little indentation in it. And
It's a little sharp on the edge, so you got to be careful you don't cut your lip.
Oh, it's so good. But I love. Look, I'm one of those people who wants to sample everything. Like that's why I love things like tapas and dim sum because you can go and sample a whole bunch of different things from the menu. I love that. And so beer flights to me, and maybe I'm just old. Maybe there's people on TikTok making fun of me right now. And you know what? If you are, that's for you, okay? I don't really care. You kids get off my freaking lawn.
Wait a second.
Yeah.
How can someone make fun of you for sampling beer?
Well, apparently that's what these kids
understand.
on TikTok are doing to like their parents and stuff. They're
Shut
making
up.
fun
You
of
think
them.
you're smart because you can read?
Yeah. All right, we'll take a break and we'll read some more about this when we return. Plus, more beers to sample, and drinking news is not that far away.
Speaking of sampling beers.
Stand by. It's like a flight. We love it.
That's why we do a flight every week.
Kiss my butt. Welcome back, my friends. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. It's show number 374. And if we didn't mention this, by the way, big thanks to Josh Kane of Casa de Monte Cristo, who was our special guest last week and did such a great job talking cigars with us. We will talk cigars a little more as we go here. I'm going to tell you about some cigars to watch for that are headed to a retail store near you. But right now in this segment, we're going to do a little side-by-side comparison. And this isn't necessarily because we're trying to find out which one of these is better, because they're both so good it doesn't matter. Like both of these should be in your repertoire and rotation. If
This
you're
is
an
more
IPA
a self-indulgent
It
trial.
really is. This is just so we can drink this IPAs that we really like. But no, to comparison, compare the flavors and stuff side by side. We've already established on this show that both of these are really good. One is Lone Pint, which I think makes the Lone Pint Yellow Rose IPA, I think, is one of the best IPAs in the world. And they released their double of it a little bit recently, which basically just takes it to a little higher ABV and maybe tastes a little bit bigger. And then from Parish Brewing, which make Ghost in the Machine, which is one of the finest IPAs in the world, in my opinion.
Brain Cake.
This is a Brain Cake, which is their double. So it will be fun to sample them side by side. And the first thing I noticed, by the way, is the difference in color. In this hand, I'm holding the Yellow Rose double. And in this hand, I'm holding the Parish double. And the Parish is definitely hazier looking, more citrus looking, whereas the Yellow Rose is a little more amber in its color. So,
yeah. So the double Yellow Rose is coming in at 10%. So you think that? So this is actually called Double Yellow Rose. So this is something starting with the Yellow Rose formula, I think. This one's called Brain Cake. This one says double strata, citra cashmere, and double wheat. And I'm wondering if this one starts with the same mash bill as the.
I don't know. From a flavor standpoint, I can see a lot of similarities.
Yeah,
but it is bigger. And Ghost in the Machine is not small in terms of its ABV and its mouthfeel. But boy, these are just two examples of two really different IPAs doing really different things, setting out to do really
They're
different
both
things.
so good. I just tried them one right after another, and they're both so good.
Wow. So I will say, between the two, Lone Pine is a little more for like fans of the traditional IPA.
There's a little more. What do you call it? Resiny kind of bitterness
Not
in
that
there.
it's over the top, but
No.
it is in there. Whereas the Parish, the
Brain cake.
brain cake. Thank you. I was struggling to remember that word. Maybe it's all the IPA. The brain cake is definitely more on the hazy side. So
Yeah, hazy. It's a little creamier, actually.
it would depend on which is your flavor of choice. But it's one of the things, I drink a lot of hazies. It's really kind of my favorite style. But one of the things I've always noticed is that if I've been drinking more hazies and I go back to Lone Pint Yellow Rose, it's always so refreshing. Like it's such a
because it's very not hazy. It's a very
right.
straightforward.
Absolutely.
Yellow,
and so I enjoy
IPA
that.
style
And I
Yellow
would say
Rose.
these doubles kind of continue that pattern
Agreed.
for both of these breweries. They just kind of take it up to that next ABV level.
They're both outrageously good.
Yeah, you could not go wrong with
And
either of
again,
these.
this was just fun to just take two of our favorites, take them up to a double, and then see what they feel like side by side. And they're so different. It's funny that we can enjoy the beers of the same exact style that are this different from each other.
And it is, I just wanted to thank you because when you told me you wanted to do a side-by-side comparison, I assumed you were going to compare Malort and barrel-aged Malort.
I have both of those. I have both of those on my shelf, and we can do that.
And he's not even embarrassed to say
He
that.
has
See,
them
here's
on
the
his
thing.
shelf?
If I had those on my shelf, I would tell no one. I would not be admitting this in a public forum. And here he is. I got to give you credit for you have no
Weekly,
Well,
he
you
is
know, like a friend of mine told me, it's not bad. It is challenging to appreciate.
Yeah, well,
Challenging to appreciate.
consider me challenged. Wow. We will take a break and be right back. Those of you who only get the first hour of the show, find us on YouTube or your favorite podcast provider to hear the second hour. For those of you who do get both hours of the show, we will be right back, and Drinking News is right around the corner. It's Smoking and Toasted. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Welcome back. It is Smoking and Toasting. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. And guess what we're going to sample in this segment? Another IPA. This is like, it's like oh happy day for me because I'm such an IPA fan. I'm just loving life and loving IPAs. So.
You ever try to pour a beer that just wants to pour down the side of the can?
Yeah, I have done that too. What I usually try to do then is open my mouth really wide and just like pour downward and see what
How much you can
accomplish.
I now have a lovely IPA scent to my
Yeah, well, that's always
shorts.
That's always a positive, I think. So, all right, it's time to look at some cigars to watch for, so you will know what to expect out of what is coming soon to cigar stores near you. AJ fanboy alert! AJ fanboy alert! AJ Fuentes is expanding his Dias de Gloria brand with a new cigar, the Dias de Gloria Brazil. Dias de Gloria, by the way, is Spanish for Dias of Gloria. The original
You
Dias de
nail
Gloria.
that every time.
The original Dias de Gloria brand was created by AJ to honor the Cuban cigars of the pre-Castro era. And just in case you're new to the show, I am an unabashed and unapologetic AJ Fernandez fanboy. So I just love what he does so much, and I've heard people say he's not the most pleasant man, and I just don't care. As long as he keeps making great cigars, I don't have to interact with him. I can just
we
smoke
met him
his
once.
cigars.
He was very nice.
I thought he was super nice. Yeah. So anyway.
All I can think of is I want the Dias de Gloria to be the Spanish version of Glory Days by John Mellencamp.
no, that's a Springsteen.
Oh, Springsteen. Yeah, Springsteen. Sorry.
Mellencamp is kind of like the low rent Springsteen.
Yes.
And Springsteen is like the real
yeah,
deal.
Agreed. Paper and Fire, though, is pretty darn good.
I'm not saying Mellencamp doesn't have some good stuff.
No.
But I will say, and I said this on last week's show, when the restrooms get really packed at his concerts is when he says, I'm going to do a song for my new album.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
He still does that.
just saying. This new cigar that AJ has released in the Dias de Gloria line to honor the Cuban cigars of the pre-Castro era features a dark Brazilian Matafina wrapper.
Oh,
and
you have me already.
Somehow I just lost my whole notes.
You had
I
me at
apologize.
Montefino wrapper?
Yeah. So anyway, they grew the tobacco on AJ's farms in Nicaragua, and the binder and filler is composed of that with the Brazilian Matafina wrapper. And while the core of the Dias de Gloria's line is round, this particular one is box pressed. So it comes in 4 vitolas, and it was made in Nicaragua at AJ's factory in Esteli. So I'm really excited about that. Now,
How much are they going to be? Do they have a price on them?
yes, between $14 and $16. So kind of in the same areas that Rocky 60 that I was talking about. So. And then another cigar company that we are all big fans of here on the show, Oliva, is doing something new with the Serie V Milanio. A special version of this fantastic cigar will now come with its own soundtrack.
What?
Oliva has partnered with French musician and classical pianist Paul Montag for a duet between his music and a limited edition Oliva Serie V Milanio cigar. By scanning the QR code in the inside of the cigar band, consumers can listen to a 45-minute recording, perfect for like the duration of smoking the cigar, right? Of Montag playing piano, inspired by cigar smoking while you were smoking your
Dude,
cigar.
I am
Wow.
in.
Yeah, doesn't that sound like a cool experience?
Dude, I am so in.
I love it. Recorded in one take, the piece by Montag is called #Don't Smoke But Enjoy. I didn't make that up. That's just what it says. I have no idea. It all began in December 2023 when Montag sat at his piano and lit an Oliva Serie V Milanio to smoke as he played. Not long after, Montag and the CEO of the Valdemarere cigar family, the parent company of Oliva, had a discussion regarding how classical music and cigars inspire similarly introspective moods, and they decided to use these together. So it's a pretty cool idea. Music, he says, goes to the very depth of a person's soul, and cigars enable us to achieve a sense of plenitude through a form of introspection. This is what Montag, the pianist, said in a press release. It's a unique experience that has all aficionados will now be able to enjoy, hence the title, which also winks at the company slogan, "Don't smoke but enjoy." It's a 5.5 by 60 ring gauge. The Oliva Serie V Milanio Gran Toro Limited Edition 2024, and it will come with the QR code on the inside of the band for you to enjoy the music, and it consists of the same blend as the Serie V Milanio core line. Ecuador Sumatra cover leaf, atop a Nicaraguan binder and filler, and it ships in boxes of 10 and has a suggested retail price of $20.
How long do you think before
I'm
Ian
on.
actually
I'm on.
reviews that one? That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
Ian, how
I'm
long
guessing-
before you
I
get
will
that?
be
The
next
minute
week.
I see one.
I'm guessing next week.
Yeah,
is what
next
I'm
week.
expecting.
That's his.
The minute I see one, and I will sit and enjoy the music.
Should be that does sound like a really great experience.
Now, I
Because
just want to point
cigars-
out that if I do this and my cigar review comes out as a stream of conscious,
Well, I think that'd be wonderful.
I'm just saying that it
different
might
experience.
change. It might change the experience.
We'll have you
of
do
the
it in
cigar
one of the
review.
longer segments of the show, just in case the stream of consciousness goes on for a while. That's okay. Listen, I've been saying this since the very beginning. When people talk about the health risks associated with cigar smoking, and they do exist. It's not. I'm not going to bury my head in the sand about it. Right? They're certainly not the same as cigarette smoking. But it's not without its certain cigar risk. But what people don't factor in is the cigar experience and how it nurtures the soul. I'm not being hyperbolic here.
Oh yeah.
It is a thing when you can relax to the degree you relax with a really good cigar. Like, look at how I talked about that Rocky Patel 60. That was an experience. It wasn't just, I'm smoking. It was an
That
experience.
is mental health, my friend.
Absolutely. And it did me a wonderful amount of good. And I can only imagine, because the Oliva Serie V Milanio, that's a great
So
cigar
good.
to begin with.
So
right?
good.
I can only imagine the experience of smoking that while listening to this guy play passionately this piano music that he has written and record. I love this idea, and I enjoy classical music. It's not what I listen to most of the time, but I can only imagine how great it would feel to smoke that cigar and listen to that music.
Sometimes to sit down and put yourself in a place
Mm-hmm.
that you wouldn't normally go. You
Right.
know? It's outside the box, but not necessarily uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like that just sounds like an awesome experience.
I love it. I'm so excited about it. I really want to get one of these. And if you get your hands on one before me, maybe grab one. And
Are they already out?
Pay you back. I believe they are coming. Let me look back at my notes here. I don't have a release date, but it's
Soonish.
yeah, soonish.
Soonish. Yeah, well, I'll be trying that as soon as I can get my hands on one.
Yeah, all right.
Firestone Mine Haze Cosmic Crusher Juicy Imperial IPA.
All right, so Firestone Walker out of California is another one of those breweries that I would say we kind of revere.
Yeah, you just try anything that they come out with because
Yeah.
it's going to be good.
Right. The 805 is one of the best
So good.
crushable lager beers that you could ever even imagine. And I've loved their Luponic Distortion series of IPAs, but this is their Mind Haze series. They have several IPAs that fall under the Mind Haze series, but this one is Cosmic Crusher. It's an
Crusher.
Imperial. Is that right? Imperial IPA?
Juicy Imperial coming in at 9.5% on this.
Have you begun your research?
Yes. It is juicy, it's bitter, it's good.
It's not bitter in a bitter hop sort of way. It's bitter like on the tongue. Like it's not
bitter in a
like a bitter candy almost, right?
well, I would say almost more like the zest of the orange or zest of the fruit kind of bitter.
Wow.
There's a slight astringency on the outside bit of the tongue, the outside edges of the tongue. And it's really, really nice. Like we're hashtag winning today on IPAs.
Well,
you know?
I was just about to say, from what I started the show with, which was what Terry brought in for a show beer, we didn't even review it.
This is your
The
fifth IPA
Captain
since we
Dynamite
started.
IPA for a show beer, and then we just did the comparison IPAs. We're now doing this. Like I'm in IPA heaven over. This is like my favorite show ever.
I'm gonna have to shave my tongue after this.
I mean, seriously though, this Mind Haze,
Like it's growing
Cosmic
pine
Crusher,
needles.
this is fantastic.
No, it is quite good.
I got this in a Mind Haze mix pack, a 12-pack, that had 3 different Mind Haze IPAs.
for
in it.
each of 3 different.
Yeah, 4 each of 3 different.
I love it when companies do that. It's fun to pick up those.
Well, if you
mixed
remember,
packs sometimes.
if you remember, there was it a Belching Beaver that
Yeah.
came out of the mix pack that I bought that we loved so much, and the only way you could get
Only
it
way
was
to
in
get
the
it
mix
was the
pack.
mix pack,
Yeah,
yes.
so I had a lot of IPAs at the house for a
Shiner's
while.
done that with a few of their beers. A few
Yeah.
of their releases where the only way you could get it was in the mixed pack too.
I think that's kind of cool. I
That's pretty
love
fun.
when breweries do interesting things.
Yeah.
And this, my friend, is interesting.
Yeah, and I like different flavors. So getting a mixed pack allows me to go, what am I in the mood for? Mm-hmm. You know,
And I am in the mood for juicy goodness in this case.
Juicy
And this one really does, really does kind of, hit the bill on this, I think. So, I want to tell you about a beer festival in Manchester, England. Customers paid up to £90, and it was kind of a disaster.
oh no,
They complained about a freezing, half-empty venue, rude staff, and drinks tasting of plastic. They wound up comparing it to an ill-fated Willy Wonka experience, if you can believe that. Yeah, it was the Manchester Beer Festival. Oh, God, I hate when these pop-up ads.
some promoter did it
completely-
wrong, huh?
Yeah, just completely obscure the story. I may not even be able to read you the rest of the story because of this pop-up from the Daily Mail, but I'll try it again in a moment. In any case, not all beer festivals are the same. And I have done that with whiskey festivals, right?
Well, me and my wife, she brought me on my birthday one year to the H-Town Beer Festival. Mm-hmm. Absolute disaster.
Yeah, and so what was wrong with it? What made
first
it a
off,
disaster?
you could tell the minute you walked in, the promotion was bad. Mm-hmm. They didn't have their stuff together right at the front. They couldn't get the ticket thing to scan at all. Like
Right.
it was a long line. It was a disaster. And then there was nobody in there.
Mm-hmm.
They had only 2 beer companies showed up.
Oh my gosh, only 2 beer companies at a festival?
Only 2 beer companies. 11 Below showed up, And I'm trying to remember who the other one was, but yeah, only 2 beer companies showed up, and then of course, guess how fast they were out of beer.
Oh yeah. Oh god, what a disaster.
And the place wasn't even that full, but they literally only had 2 beer companies, so the lines were long. Everything, the beer was good, but there was 2 of them. It was
that's
absolutely
awful.
crazy, and the music was good. We saw a couple bands that they hired that were pretty good. Just Houston, like funk bands and stuff like that.
Right, yeah.
If you're not familiar with funk bands in Houston, Houston's got some pretty good R&B and funk bands. Yeah,
so good.
Yeah,
so
buddy.
good.
And, and it was just absolutely ran into the ground.
This festival in Manchester was called the International Brewing and Cider Festival. It was a first year. It was a 2-day ticketed event, 2 days, can you imagine? With prices starting from £20 and going up to £90. And it was held at the Depot, Mayfield, Manchester last weekend. But organizers were forced to apologize for the less than perfect experience. There's my air quotes. And so, yeah, it was not a good situation. By the way, Daily Mail sucks because you're reading an article and then they just throw ads up and not just ads. You can throw me ads, fine, but these ads obscure what you're reading and you can't clear them.
Yeah,
it's just like talk about bait and switch. No more.
When I get to websites like that, I literally just don't go back.
Yeah, no more Daily Mail for me. We're done. All right, Daily Mail, and that's a shame because Daily Mail has been the source of a couple of pretty good drinking news stories in the past. We have a good one for you today. We'll be getting to that momentarily, and we taste whiskey next because IPA is not enough, my friends. We need whiskey in our lives, and we'll be back to have some of that next. It is Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. I don't think you can see it from the angle of the camera, but Ian, it pours whiskey with the ease of a well-tuned craftsman.
Sir.
You look like you've done that
Whiskey
before.
pouring should be taken seriously.
Yeah, all right. I understand this. Our whiskey for the show today is one Ian brought from his collection, so I thank you for doing that.
You're welcome,
It is the New Riff Distilling's Single Barrel Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. They're out of Newport, Kentucky. And tell me what you know about this, Ian, because clearly there's been some sampling before the show.
So the New Riff Single Barrel, it's a single barrel. This is a Specs release. So Specs once a year has their barrel release day, where they go out and they've selected so many barrels.
So they release them all on the same day?
Yeah, so they release all of these barrel releases on the same day, and this is one of those.
Man, I love
New
this
Riff,
on the
I'm
nose.
not as familiar with New Riff as a distillery, but I will tell you that this particular, I think this comes in at about $70 for the bottle, somewhere in that neighborhood. On there it says distilled October 19, bottled 2023, aroma cedar and leather, palate root beer vanilla.
Yeah.
Barrel number 22605.
I get a little of that root beer on the nose.
Mm-hmm.
You really do.
Each New Riff barrel is singular in personality and flavor, selected for its quality and complexity, bottled at barrel proof. Without chill filtration, we preserve the character of the barrel all the way to your glass. Aged at least 4 years.
Wow.
And I will tell you, kind of knocked my socks off.
Yeah, big time bubble gum.
Yeah.
And
Bubble gum on the nose, the root beer on the nose. I get there,
root beer for sure, and a little bit of sort of oaky, mapley sort of undertone to it that almost reminds me of a really good rum. You know what I mean?
Cinnamon on the finish.
Cinnamon on the finish for sure. Mm-hmm. Yes.
If you are a fan of cinnamon gum, you will love this. Also, I love the there's a very naked mineral water
Sure.
note to this. That's very much like when you buy
It's like
that
middle
bottle
of
of
the-
Perrier or
Kind of middle of the palate is the
and it's just it's very straight. Like no, it's not like I taste a little bit. It's like very mineral water. Right there, it's incredibly interesting.
Is mineral watery a word?
It is now.
Okay.
Shakespeare actually invented words, and I figure if he can, then
What
I
is
can.
the proof on this?
Well, it's barrel proof, my friend. It is
100 proof at least. 100 at least.
111.7 proof.
Yeah, I can get
It's
a little
hot.
bit. I can get a little bit of that heat, but it's not off-putting. You know, sometimes you get things that are in that range in terms of the amount of strength, and they just make you kind of sit back
And
a
if
little.
you're watching on the video, you can see how oily it is. It sticks to the glass like hardcore.
What's giving it the root beer? What did it say? It was aged in a root beer? What is that?
No. It's just part of
It's just
part of the flavors of the keg.
Okay.
Or the keg, the barrel that they put it in.
Yeah.
You know, root beer's a flavor you can get in whiskey. It's one of those things like vanilla, like things that gets drawn out of the oak. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
This has a very strong oak astringency as well too,
certainly
and
does,
it's
yeah.
almost a young kind of oak, like a greenish oak astringency to it.
Very much on the finish too.
And not meaning any of that in a bad way necessarily, but just as a descriptor. But I really, really enjoyed this when I opened it, as you can tell, because, well, I mean, we might bottle kill this today, apparently.
I dig it, man. I think this is just exceptional, and it presents as a sort of like a new, different flavor combination. Like you can tell that it's whiskey, but it doesn't just taste like every other whiskey. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It
Right.
really
Real.
kind of forges its own path here, flavor-wise. I like it. I like it very much. You say it's around a $70 bottle?
It's $60 to $70, I think, for this particular barrel select. But they also have a, not the single barrel version of it, but I think it's a little bit less, and you can find it. I haven't tried that one, but if the single barrel is this good, I'm assuming it's going to be
The
good.
single barrel's this good. Yeah, sure. All right, we got to take a break. We'll be back. My friends, drinking news is next. Welcome back. It's the Smoking and Toasting program. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We're on show number 374, which, as Ian so astutely pointed out earlier in the broadcast, is about halfway to 400.
Yep.
I was thinking it was halfway to 500, but I think we crossed that threshold maybe like next week. So
That'll
it's
be
something
coming up soon.
something we'll look forward to.
All
So
right, by just outward purpose, just by outward appearances,
yes.
I'm loving this beer already.
All right. So we're going to do drinking news before we sample this, right?
What do you mean?
Who's we? You got to turn your pocket, or
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So, just
Now I have to pick up. You're
by
gonna
the way,
make me play. You're gonna make me play for my beer.
yes. Perform, little monkey, perform. Dance, monkey, dance. I just want to mention before we get to it, though, this whiskey that you brought, Ian, is just
pretty damn
absolutely
good, right?
outstanding. I love the
New
flavor
Riff,
of this.
man.
It feels like a new Riff. Like, it doesn't feel like it's the same whiskey taste I've experienced before in so many other, bourbons or straight whiskeys, and it's just wonderful. I love it. You said it's around a $70 bottle. I think I asked you that twice.
Oh yeah, 60 to 70.
So I may be heading to pick one of these up.
It's
if they
real
still
good.
got some, because it's
It's real good, and it's a barrel pick, so it's going to be there as long as they have that particular
Mm-hmm.
bottle, and that's it. I don't know how many they bought.
if you are getting your spirits at a place that doesn't do barrel picks, change up to a different place. This is one of the most wonderful things. And, you may not be able to find where you live this particular spirit, although we have told you something about New Riff and how good their spirits are, and you can find other things maybe that they do.
But they
you
do
al-
barrel picks on everything. Like they'll do.
you should also find barrel picks of other things that
Yeah,
you
they'll do like a Buffalo Trace barrel pick. They'll do an Elijah Craig. They'll do tons of companies that you've heard. And if they do a barrel pick on a brand that you know and love, you should try that, because it'd be like
Right.
it's
Heaven
like
Hill
trying
or
that same
what-
recipe but getting a slightly different version of it,
Right.
It's so nice.
And what's interesting about those barrel picks is they have a tendency to kind of like, it's not something that's being advertised in magazines and stuff. So you may have time to find these things on your favorite spirit store shelves before they're gone. And if they're gone, it should be because you purchased at least one.
And also the barrel pick just in and of itself, that means someone took the time
Right.
to go try some different barrels.
Yes, for
And,
sure.
and decide between them which one represents what we like here, you know?
Excuse me.
What do I think?
That was a rather rude burp, and it was not on purpose.
What do I think my company should have as like their barrel pick? You know, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I love it. I think, and we've had a few other. Yeah, I heard that. We've had a few other barrel pick selections that we've picked up at
100%.
Specs where they do some great stuff, and I think we've enjoyed all of them. But I particularly enjoy this. This is really good. Bravo, sir! Thank you for bringing that in.
This has made me. I will go back and try. If they have another bottle of this, I'll get it. But I will also try the new Riff that's not the barrel pick, just to see what.
Right. See how that holds up. Yeah.
So
absolutely.
I mean, it propagates. Buying whiskey too.
Yeah, and being interested in this newer whiskey company. I love that. Absolutely love it. All right, folks, it's time for the segment of the show that has become inexplicably the most popular feature on Smoking and Toasting. It's a little thing that we do where we bring you stories about people from around the world who've done crazy and unusual things. Sometimes drinking is involved, but always these are best enjoyed if you've been drinking. It's a segment we call Drinking News.
Drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news, drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. Florida man with one arm said he had a gator for a pet. When asked about his absent arm, he said,
I had to take my gator to the vet.
drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news.
Cheers, y'all. By the way, that's my amazing wife doing that.
Yes, she has a very specific voice when
Yes,
she
she
does
does.
stuff like
And I
that.
absolutely love it. Of all the ones of those we recorded, that is still my favorite. Something about it. All right, drinking news, my friends. The Sunshine State. No matter how far around the globe we may roam in search of stories for drinking news, somehow we're always drawn back to where the marshes are swampy, the trailers are double wide, and there's a 3 in 5 chance that the person who lives next door to you earns their living with a kind of dancing that generally involves a pole. And while our recent drinking news journeys have taken us far and wide, from California to Texas to North Carolina, but that sound you hear, that lonesome whippoorwill call, pulling us back to where anything is possible, as long as you're willing to suspend all societal norms and just roll with it. You all know where I'm talking about, so it should come as no surprise that today's drinking news story once again involves a Florida man.
Florida man.
I didn't even have to let you know that was coming. You were right there.
Oh, I know it. I know it. You can feel it.
A Florida man who was recently arrested and charged with disorderly conduct for the second time.
Disorderly conduct.
For the second time in 5 weeks.
Shocking actions for a
Squared.
Florida man.
37-year-old Gregory Melvin Zopf. That's spelled Zopff. Zopf.
Wow.
37-year-old Gregory Melvin Zopf was arrested after police received a call about a suspicious man who approached a woman on her way to work while she was walking to her office and was screaming profanities at her at the top of his lungs. Isn't that a Dashboard Confessional song, Screaming Profanities? No, I think it's Screaming Infidelities. Anyway, okay, sorry. The Florida man was apparently using the F word and the B word and the C word, among other delightful terms. Cops say the woman was traumatized, frightened to death, and was crying when they arrived at the scene. And while a swearing Florida man might be easy enough to picture in your mind, let me add a few details for you. Police say that Gregory Melvin Zopf was wearing a crown of thorns, was singing, was dancing some kind of a jig, and was carrying a piñata made in the image of Chucky from the Child's Play horror movies.
Nice.
And really, who among us has never done that?
Yeah.
Right? Zopf told the officers that he was just singing a leprechaun song.
A leprechaun song. What do leprechauns have to do with pinatas?
And he hadn't done anything wrong. He was
Is that a
just
traditional
singing.
Irish leprechaun pinata?
See, leprechauns and pinatas don't really go together, right? Because when you hang the pinata and then you swing it with a stick, if you're a leprechaun, you're so short, you're not going to reach the freaking pinata. So it doesn't work, right? Anyway, he said he was just singing. Now, let me take a moment to address the pinata. What kind of a demented store is selling this kind of item? Pinatas are for kids' parties. They're filled with candy and treats and are usually in the shape of, pointy star objects or a donkey or a friendly dinosaur, right? A quick Google search for pinatas also revealed that apparently pinatas in the shape of a man's private parts are also especially popular. But I have a feeling those may be for a very different kind of party. But back to the kids.
You're supposed to beat that?
What? Just follow Michael Jackson's advice. But back to the kids. What kind of sick bastard brings a scary freaking Chucky pinata to a little boy or girl's birthday party?
A Chucky pinata?
Yeah. I mean, it's bad enough that people hire goddamn clowns to make balloon animals. Are we really okay with parents scarring their kids for life
Do you have a problem with clowns?
with clowns and evil doll pinatas?
You didn't even say like scary clowns. You just said clowns.
Think of the children. The children.
I love that he refuses to engage me on this.
Anyway, our Florida man
Florida man.
was apparently not on his way to a kid's party, so who knows where he got the pinata and why he was wearing...
Chucky doll.
Who knows where he got the pinata and why he was wearing thorny biblical headwear. Can you imagine him picking up these items like after he got released from jail? Yes, sir, here's your wallet, $4.28, a wrapped condom that looks like it expired in 1978, a Bic lighter, a weird-ass pinata, and a crown of thorns, exits to your left. The Florida man was arrested for disorderly conduct, and police determined that he'd been arrested many times before, including for an incident where he took the Chucky pinata and his thorny crown into a deli and screamed at the people who were just trying to order Italians on whole
Wait.
wheat
So he
with
got
extra vinegar
arrested
and oil.
with this pinata before?
Yep. He went into a deli with the pinata.
Is my bestest friend.
Yeah, he doesn't want to beat it.
He went into a deli with a pinata and with the Chucky pinata and a thorny crown and screamed at people who were just trying to order Italians on whole wheat with extra vinegar and oil. I don't actually know if that's what they were ordering, but it's what I would have ordered, and I wouldn't have wanted some ass clown screaming at me and waving an ugly party item. So there's that.
It's
As is...
Chucky. He's gotten arrested with the Chucky pinata before?
Yeah, and here he is still like...
Pinatas are supposed to be used at some point, and then you're not supposed to have them anymore.
Right. Once the
He just
candy and
keeps
stuff
it.
falls out.
Chucky's
keeps
my friend.
As is often the case. And to the great chagrin of most of our listeners, this story has inspired me.
Was Chucky telling him to do this?
I don't know.
He does in most of the movies.
Yeah. Usually he's the one
Yeah.
responsible for the mayhem.
Yeah.
But as is often the case, this story has inspired me. And when inspiration hits, I find that I often wax poetic. So that is the case for today. And so without further ado, or even your permission, I would now like to share my moment of prose with you. And it goes a little something like this. We've been able to now ascertain that this guy who just yelled the profane, clearly Florida man with pinata in hand, all those thorns were impacting his brain. Reporting live from a Florida pinata shop, where I find myself wondering, does any man's penis actually look like that? My name is Cruz, and that is your...
Drinking news, drinking news. That's our time for drinking news.
Cheers, y'all.
Oh, my goodness.
So I will tell you, I don't usually, I'm not easy. I don't blush easily, right? But when I went on looking at piñatas online and saw all these, penis and testicle piñatas.
I have missed those, by the way. I
my
haven't
God.
seen those. I did
Well,
not see
apparently,
that. They
I-
aren't
they
at
mu-
the HEB La Mitienda
Yeah,
down in
no.
Pasadena. I'm not seeing that.
They must do them for bachelorette parties.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I can
Yeah.
figure.
Oh, yeah, blame it on
the old,
bachelorettes.
like
Yeah,
the old
it's their
Saturday Night Live when Patrick Stewart would make the cakes, the erotic cakes of
Yes,
someone
yes.
going to the bathroom. That's what it's her going to the bathroom.
So good. Remind me. I don't think we have time in this segment, but remind me to tell you of the time I was on a flight with Sir Patrick Stewart.
Oh, lovely.
By the way, I'm a total Star Trek fanboy, so I was apoplectic.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you about that another time because we got to taste this Crux. It's not even Crux Brewing Company. It's the Crux.
It's Crux
Fermentation
Fermentation
Project.
Project.
Alan
this is
Parsons
their-
loves that.
There's a lot
This is
going
their
on
tough
here.
love, yes. So there's a lot going on. I think, in this actual beer.
It smells really good. It's coffee smell, like right off the nose, like right
Big
off the top.
time. This is like coffee pot coffee. That really
Oh.
dark coffee smell.
Oh,
Well, if you taste it, you can taste the
like
grounds.
the darkest of dark chocolates too. Holy cow!
Oh, yeah.
And I love at this point, I'm not even remotely interested in milk chocolate. I want dark chocolate every time I have chocolate.
Imperial Stout brewed with blackstrap molasses and spices aged in Kentucky bourbon barrels. This year's Tough Love remains true to form, banished to Kentucky bourbon barrels under controlled conditions for nearly a year.
So I think this is the 2023 Tough Love, right?
Yeah. Rich overtones of dark roasted malt, oat smoked wheat, and malty rye give way to delicate notes of velvety chocolate, vanilla, and dried cherries.
So sometime when you get an Imperial Stout, it leans like in the barley wine direction, like it's got that date and fruit vibe to it.
This has
This is
nothing
the
of that.
opposite of that.
100%.
Yeah, this is
No, this
all
is
about
coffee, roasted
and
coffee
roasted,
beans,
roasted coffee
chocolate,
beans, and it's really, really delicious. Like this,
Vanilla bits.
this is one you would want to share again
Yes.
with people. You wouldn't want to sit at home and drink this one by
Yeah,
yourself.
coming in at 14%.
Oh, yeah. Let's see. I look out for you. You may think I don't, but I look out for you.
We got a few big beers
All
in
right,
this session.
we have got to take a big beer break, and we will be right back at Smoking and Toasting. Hang on, my friends. Welcome back to Smoking and Toasting. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. And during the break, I was talking with Ian, and I said, and I didn't share this in the last segment because I didn't want to sound negative because I don't mean it negatively at all. But this beer, the Tough Love Barrel-Aged Imperial Stout, some of the flavor in this reminds me of that coffee pot that's been on the burner a little too long, but I don't mean it in a negative way. It just has some of that almost burnt coffee
Well, this
flavor.
is not like the coffee pot at your mom's house that she actually hasn't cleaned. She's only rinsed out like for the last 14 years.
Yeah,
This is more like the professional version of that coffee pot at Waffle House.
which they haven't cleaned out in the last 18 hours.
Rinsed out, yeah.
Yeah, right.
But no, it's like if you like a burnt coffee flavor, and come on, anybody who likes Starbucks likes burnt coffee.
Yeah,
Let's just put that out there.
You're 100% right.
I don't care if you say no, it's not like that. You lie.
Yeah.
Anyway, but
Ian just called you out on the program. Yeah, no, but it's not an unpleasant flavor.
no,
is what I'm trying
it's
to
a
say.
good flavor.
just-
This coffee beer. It's not even a coffee beer, but it tastes like coffee. It's really good.
So on a very IPA centric show today, we wind up with an Imperial Stout that just like burns the IPA off of our tongue and replaces it with this
Yeah,
sort
we
of
had
a burnt coffee.
Big IPAs today too. Our latest IPA that we had on the show today was 8%.
It's not exactly sessionable. Just saying.
Says you. I would drink it.
I took my
I would
last
drink that floating down the river.
I took my last little sip of the whiskey, and then I drank the last little sip of the cherry pie, and now my tongue is just it just went into this
This is
like,
doing involuntary
like
contractions. Sir, that is not the last sip of your whiskey.
I want to put out, as we get ready to close the show here, I want to put out a challenge to our listeners, to our regular listeners, or anyone who's a casual listener. I would like to find, there must be something, and I'd like to find it. So email us, and the email address is st@rfcmedia.com.
That's ST at RFCmedia.
Yeah, ST stands for Smoking and Toasting at rfcmedia.com. So email me and tell me what you think, and it should be a beer or a spirit, that Ian would not drink floating down the river.
Good luck.
Yeah, because you seem open to pretty much anything. Is there anything that we're not thinking of?
An unbalanced IPA.
Okay, sure. Well, let me ask you this question, and I don't feel bad asking it because these guys are no longer in business. More Cowbell. Did you feel like that was a balanced IPA?
No.
See, I agree. It was not one of my favorites in any way,
it was very pine
shape, or form.
cone-y.
Yes, it
Very
absolutely
resinous
was.
and pine cone.
And if I was looking for that, it was fine. But if I wasn't, yeah,
That's one that I enjoyed.
that's from Buffalo Bayou Brewing, which
I
they're
was
no longer
looking
in
for-
business here.
if
They're-
I
they're
was
gone.
looking
That's
for
one that I
pine cone?
enjoyed for a few weeks after it came out, and then I went, well, that burnt my tongue. I'm done.
One of the things, as an IPA fan, sorry, I just took another sip of that whiskey, and it's amazing.
It is.
Really good.
It like threw me totally off my game. As an IPA fan, I have loved the hazy and juicy movement. To me, this has put such great flavor and such great drinkability on IPAs. And I know people who are not IPA fans are sick of it. Like, come on. But to me, it has really advanced the accessibility of good beer, of really good craft beer, to a whole new group of people who might not have found, some of the things that you love floating down the river to be as accessible, right? So I think it's a good thing. I think it's all a positive. And why can't we all just get along anyway? That's all.
Why can't they all just make a barley wine?
That's what's going to be on your tombstone, my friend. Why can't they all just make a barley wine?
That's right.
I like that.
And
actually.
everyone would be happy.
Yeah.
And by
Except-
everyone, I mean me, because whatever.
want to thank our producing engineer, Terry Michaels, behind the wheels of steel today, making it all happen. Thanks to Adam in the Cloud, our executive producer of the show. And thanks to Ian. You brought in some really, really great stuff this week. And I say that even though you also brought in the mystery beverage, which was not great stuff.
Yeah.
But the other stuff was good enough. It made up for it, I think.
Hey, in my defense, it says Whistle Pig on it.
It was
I
a good
agree.
mystery beverage.
It was a good mystery beverage, and I would have expected, had I seen that before you, I would totally have brought that on as a beverage of mystery. So, well, thank you to everybody for being here to be a part of the show. We do appreciate it, and we appreciate you. And our
No Malort was harmed during the taping
that's
of this
right,
episode.
which is good to know. Our beverage of mystery music is called The Visitor by Shane Ivers. You can check him out at chosic.com, spelled just like it sounds. Have a great weekend, or a great week, my friends, and we'll see you again here next week. Happy April Fools to those of you who missed it, and trust no one. Later. Cheers,
Cheers, y'all.
Such a stubborn one, I think I miss.